big up, and welcome to Liverpool 12 Man Show. I'm Liverpool 12 Man, and I have Scouts Lee in the house. Scouts in the house. Big up. And tonight's not going to be a normal episode, so I do ask that you do your breathing techniques before you get into this. How about that? Do your woo-saws or your namastes or whatever is the pattern that you need to kind of get yourself centered or bring your calm period into your focus, because tonight we're going to talk about fracture points, the kind of moments that define errors, not matches. We all know it. We were live when it was happening, actually. Mohamed Salah, arguably the greatest attacker this club has seen since, Kenny Dalglish or maybe Steven Gerrard, but stepped in front of a camera and lit a match on Anfield's doorstep. He says he's been thrown under the bus. He says he has no relationship with our manager, Arne Slot. He has said also that someone inside Liverpool doesn't want him at the club. And while that unfortunate bit of reality is being brought onto the pitch or off the pitch, we're watching another collapse. This is all in the process of when we're watching a player speak on his own disgruntlements when Leeds has just drawn a game 3-3 against us. We were 2 up, then went back 2-2, then we went 3 up, then it went 3-3 in stoppage time. This is not a slump. I don't think we really want to say, I don't think this ever was a slump. This is structural failure. Something that some of us have been mentioning, some of us have been commenting, some of us have been warning about for some time now. And I don't mean just this year. Tactically, mentally, culturally, we have seen cracks in the foundation. Now we have transfer rumors, of course, but even these transfer rumors are now just a secondary storm in a hurricane, because they're not going to save the day. Your Mark Gahey's, your Anthony Semenyo's. There's Saudi money circling in for Salah. Europe is calling. MLS is calling. Clubs circling a wounded giant, and they're going to look for an answer to those calls. Big up, Indian Scouser. Big up, by the way. Big up. Big up to Edward and Red Armchair Supporter. I see you guys in the chat. Big up. Look, there might be a reason. I understand that some people do gravitate towards this channel because we try to conduct dialogue and discourse in a sensible and reasonable and even our best way of being respectful manner. The chat does their best to do the same, and it is interesting because I know a lot of my other content creators on the platforms, they sometimes choose violence, basically, and chaos. But we're gonna do our best to try to have a sensible conversation. There's gonna be some tough conversation being had. There's going to be some criticisms that need to be made, but yet let's try to do our best in getting into this. And Lee, I'm going to bring you in right now before we get into the whole Salah explosion thing. How are you doing? And is everything well despite the state of Liverpool?
Yeah, you've got to try and keep a little bit of a smile on your face, like even when it's hard. But it was such a bitter pill to swallow, that game yesterday. As I said before, I felt we were not totally in control, but like we had it in our grasp at 2-0. Up until that point, they hadn't looked like scoring. They'd had a couple of attacks and half chances, but they never really looked like hurting us or created anything. And then the penalty, and the game is turned on its head instantaneously.
Yeah.
You know it. Second one's gone in like within seconds of the first one, and it's all undone. And then we get back in front and let it slip again at the end and undo ourselves. It's really painful. As I said, a bitter pill to swallow. Then we get the stuff with Mo. I mean, it's somewhat out of character for him, isn't it, to come out and be that direct in an interview? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? But, you know, clearly he's not happy. And that's something.
I wonder, do you... sorry, apologize.
No, go on.
I wonder... Do you think that he would have come out with the same visceral, the same comments if we had won the game? If it had remained 3-2, does Mohamed Salah still find the random Norwegian reporter that he dropped this like bomba on? You know, does that happen?
I'm unsure that he does if we win the game. But with us not winning the game, like, and everyone being distraught, he's saying, look, he didn't even bother bringing me off the bench or anything, like, you know what I mean? This is sort of like rubbed it in from a bit. But we were in front until the 95th minute, so, like, there was no need for him to come on, really, was there? To be honest, like, because we saw what he done. Like, he brought Isak on, but, like, he took Wirtz off, took Ekatike off.
But that's the thing, just to finish your to compliment what you're saying, that's the thing. Why would we bring Salah in a game where we're winning 3-2? You don't play defense, you know, for most of the matter, you know what I mean by that. Because he can play defense, but he doesn't look to play defense. I mean, when I saw Endo, I was like, that made a sensible move. I was like, okay, this makes sense. We're going to try to hold on to this, you know, type of situation.
I was hoping that might do it, but giving a set piece away or Achilles heel, corners, set pieces, specifically corners, what can you do?
Yeah, no, Edward points out, yes, we are 9th in the league. Red Armchair Supporter says he's not playing well enough to be giving toxic interviews. That is Red Armchair Supporter's strength. He is spot on with that delivery. It's the truth. Needs to be a team player, show leadership, and forget the selfish diva BS, because that's what it kind of feels like right now. Like it's almost like you see things going wrong. I get that with your club, or you don't like the direction of the club. That's because you're not a part of it or part of that equation any longer. This coach stuck with you when people were calling for you not to be in the lineup months ago. We're talking games ago, before the manager ever made this thing. It's not even with this coach. This question, there's been times when Salah has played poorly, and people have been saying, hey, during the Klopp era, we should sit Salah. And we didn't. We stuck with them. We've shown unwavering loyalty to the player. Big up John Conway, by the way. Big up John Conway. OG. But let's start with the truth. Footballers rarely speak with honesty. They speak with polished PR filters, you know, media training. They know you get those cookie cut answers, you know what I mean, Lee?
Mm-hmm.
And Mo Salah spoke like a man he spoke like he just clocked out of work, and someone ran up to him with a recorder and said, "What are you thinking about?" And he just said, "You want to know?" 3 games on the bench for the first time in his career. No communication from the manager, according to him. Promises broken by the club, according to him. And the most haunting line of all, he said, I will be at Anfield versus Brighton to say goodbye to the fans before AFCON. I don't know what happens after. That's not frustration. That's resignation. That's
I'm unsure about his promises were broken. Part of the comment, because I doubt we promised him that he'd play all the time. What we probably said was, you are an integral part of this side and will be going forward.
Exactly.
And now that he's not, he probably feels a little bit like lied to. But no, nobody gets told you will play all the time. There's no such thing, mate. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't get told that when you sign a new contract. You will never be dropped. It just isn't a thing.
It's not. That isn't a thing. That is true.
No.
That isn't true. So big up. He who dares. Big up. You're spot on with that. No one necessarily gets told outright, you shall never be dropped. But knowing player negotiations, knowing the backroom stuff of it all, because from my history at least, knowing that there are conversations where when you step in, heck, you could even go as far as the video games even point that out as being a portion of the conversation. One of the first questions when you're playing FIFA or you're playing, the manager. Oh gosh, that's sad because I like that game too. You know which game I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I don't even play
Football
FIFA
Manager.
anymore. Football Manager, yes, Football Manager. I play Football Manager. I like that game, even though it's all just wonky, just a bunch of like getting into the weeds of numbers and crunching, and getting systems put together and the likes. But yet, my point is, even when you see those forms of, the first question when you sit down is, what is my player going? What do you envision my player to be? Is he going to be a hot prospect? Is he going to be a squad player? Is he going to be, those kind of questions are the questions that get asked, because you want to know where you see this player in the lineup. But there isn't, and usually that is associated with, okay, well, am I going to be a star player or whatever it is that I forget what FIFA uses on there, but I'm just trying to make it relative so that you can recognize what we're trying to talk about. And and when they act on it, they're acting as, when they act on the contract or when they're talking about before they start negotiating the contract, they're saying, well, am I going to be a regular starter? Am I going to be, am I going to be looked at to be a crucial player on this team? If I'm going to be a crucial star player on this team, I expect to play. Simple as that. I expect to have a majority of starts. But your form has to have some impact in whether that part of the negotiation stays true. It doesn't have anything about keeping promises or whatever. You're making a promise that you're going to be a star level player. And if you're not performing at a star level, then how can I keep you as our star? You know what I mean? He's been benched for 3 games. I get it. He's still one of the leading scorers of our generation. And in the background, there's links to Al Hilal and Al Ittihad. There's even talks about maybe if he wants to stay in Europe and have opportunities to go, continue to go to Champions League. Galatasaray might be a destination for him. There's talk about maybe saying,
like it was the fee we want, though. Do you think?
No, yeah, but the fee is not going to be even close to what people think of. It'll be similar to what we got to for like Mane, I think.
Look, I've said this many times before in recent months, but it can be tough sometimes watching a club icon depreciate right in front of your eyes. I was talking to a Man City supporter in one of my local pubs on Thursday, I think it was, and I come at it from the angle of Kevin De Bruyne, and I said that was hard for you lot to watch De Bruyne gradually lose his potency, and he was like, yeah, mate, it was. You know, when he said that about Salah, he said, yeah, it looks to me as well like he's.
I get to see some similarities. The difference, I will say this is.
Well, he was a massive icon for City, wasn't he, De Bruyne?
No, he was.
He
Absolutely.
had loads of others, but he was the man. He was the main man, really, wasn't he? Like before Rodri joined. But I had a good chat with this City fan. He was a nice bloke. Like, don't know what he was doing around there. Like, oh yeah, he lives not far away, but like, he's from Manchester. But he's a nice bloke, and we had a conversation about that. Having to watch players you've loved slowly get over the hill.
Yeah, I mean, some could argue that was for Steven Gerrard. Some could argue for, some of the players that are beloved. That you could argue that for Bobby Firmino. I mean, like that. Bobby is one of my favorite players of all time. And one of the most beloved players in my existence with this club. And yet, it was tough seeing the numbers dip, the minutes dip, and knowing that player has given you so much delight in watching him play. But at the same time, the difference I would say between the De Bruyne and even the Bobbies of the world is that they were picking up injuries. The way that they limped out of their existence with the club was because their availability was no longer a staple.
Do you know what? It's a good point. I never thought about that or even mentioned it. I was talking to the City fan, but it was a lot. It was his fitness at the end on it with De Bruyne.
Yeah,
he couldn't have him properly fit and for ages. And then when he was fit, he didn't look properly fit. That's not the thing with Mo, is it? It's more that obviously Mo's in a different position, and it. His speed and his physicality, he was much more important, than De Bruyne's, because De Bruyne was pulling the strings in midfield. But Mo's pace has gone pretty much, or it's gone to the point where he's no longer that much of a threat to fullbacks and defences. In that sense, he can still do stuff and that, but the raw pace he had has dissipated over the years.
That's the thing about it. That's why I've been emphasizing. I've been really emphasizing the thought of utilizing Salah, who still has incredible talents. It's not like this guy's washed. It's more like he needs a transition, and it's not impossible to have a winger transition to a different role on the team. And I say that because people might have said, oh, well, for instance, I'll say Stevie G, for instance. He eventually had to transition from a more advanced role with the team and in the midfield to a more defensive role in the midfield. But you recognize the fact that his skills and talents and his football IQ were so immense that he was still a positive to have on the pitch, even with some of those talents, those offensive talents being dissipated a little bit.
It's very rare that offensive players are then turned into less. Like John Barnes, say, was turned from a left winger into a central midfielder. In a holding sort of way. He never went. He didn't go forward loads once he went into that role. Barnes, Gerrard went further back in the midfield with age. But Mo, there's nowhere for Mo to go. He's not going to be playing central midfield, mate, under Slot, like John Barnes was under Roy Evans. It's just not going to happen. So unless he's playing on the right wing, he ain't playing. I did think so at one point.
He's saying that was Papa saying that was forced upon him after his injury. For John Barnes, at least that was.
Yeah, I did think at one point against Leeds, though, should we throw him on the left and just say, go for the line and get it in with your left foot. Go for the actual line. Play him on the left-hand side on his left foot and give him.
Imagine if you were to take him on that, make him into a left midfielder or something like those lines, and he was able to take runs and do crosses as opposed to trying to cut in with his left foot on that right side. You're going to get a different approach. As in, it's a lot easier to get crosses from a winger if their dominant foot is the side that they're playing on. If they're on the left side, it's a lot easier to get a cross off if you're left-footed player on the left side. Right-footed players on the right side. It's just that simple because it's easier to just be able to cross it in. If you're a left-footed player, you've got to adjust your body and then try to get the pass in. It's not an easy accomplishment, but it could be something where, again, I just, if you were to take him into a more central role or bring him in, move him in a little bit more inwards, and you somewhat not restrict his movement, but definitely restrict the amount of runs that he has to take at fullbacks as opposed to center halves that he might still be able to get at. Those fullbacks are engineered to know that they're going to be taking on those wingers. Chances are they're possibly one of the fastest player on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those center halves are more engineered a little bit more to be take on speed, albeit, but they're more engineered to be on someone knowing that they're going to have to take on probably more physical presence in the middle that they're going to have to take on. That's why you see a lot more of your Ibus or your Virgils or your these bigger center halves, your Salibas or and the likes. I think he could be something of, I'm not saying he could be Messi in the middle, but I'm definitely saying that I believe that could be the natural progression for this team, is to take away our reliance on our wings and try to centralize our attack towards our center forwards. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. We are no longer in a rumor season, people. We are in ultimatum season. This isn't sources close to the player. This is Salah on camera saying what we just spoke on. I've been thrown under the bus. Someone wants me to take all the blame. I was promised things, as Lee said, in the summer that haven't been. I was promised things in the summer that haven't been kept. There is someone, a player, a fantastic player. It's just unfortunate that some of his mental health wasn't at the level that we needed it to, or he needed it to be in that time of his life.
Look, it's slightly different with Salah because since he's been here, he's only had that one bad injury. He's always played and he's never been dropped. You can't say that of all players, so it is a bit different with him, and it is a new experience for him to suddenly find himself out of the team 3 times in a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's struggling to cope with it. But he just hasn't looked anywhere. He's looked way off form, and too many left backs have just had a really easy time against him. Do you know what I mean? And it's sad to see. But it's what's happening, and it's not just him. The team has been garbage, as well. So that doesn't help him. But even taking that into consideration, the form of the team, he's looked way off what you would expect from him. He just hasn't looked dangerous when he's got it. The only danger to see when he's been getting it, at times this season, is that he'll lose the ball fairly quickly.
Yeah. Let's talk Liverpool icons, Liverpool legends, Liverpool former Liverpool players, whatever you want to reference them as. Okay, all right. I know I don't want to I definitely don't want to insult these players I'm going to bring up, but these are all former players of the club, and they have their takes. Okay. I'm going to begin with Stan Collymore. I was talking to Lee backstage about this one because I haven't heard that much from Stan Collymore about Liverpool that much, really, But Stan Collymore dropped a long thread that pretty much represents, I'd say the older school Liverpool mentality. Maybe I like to consider myself an OG now. And his quote was this, Lee. At Liverpool, it's always the club first and last. Players and managers add their DNA, but no one is bigger than the club. He praises Salah as a legend, but basically he's saying by that quote, if you're going to drop this bomba, like you're going to drop this scandalous, rant in public, the solution is simple. Player and manager talk privately. You tell me that you don't have a relationship with the manager. Okay, I get that. I mean, you had one and now you don't. There's people that I know that, sometimes the relationship that you have with them sours or goes cold. But it takes the bigger man to just say, knock on that door and say, hey, I need to have a conversation. I know we're not talking normally, but I need to have this conversation. The manager tells the player what he wants. Player either commits or he says he wants out. Simple as that. If he wants out, make it happen quickly, and we're done. That's the heart of it. Because what Salah did was he went public like that. He didn't even go to Slot. He went at the institution, meaning the club. He took shots, some I would call it shots towards the badge, because you're not keeping it in-house, you're not keeping it inside the family. The people who offered you your last contract, the people that are paying you 400,000 reasons a week to take it professionally and be professional about it. In Liverpool culture, that never plays well, or at least I used to believe it never would play well.
Look, the amount of money he's on per week, there's no way he'll be here next season if he ain't in the team. So if he doesn't regain his place in the team and doesn't leave in January, I'm sure it'll be the summer. It's whether any Saudi clubs want him in January. Now, we know how much they've wanted him and coveted him and all that one because of who he is. But will any of them be ready to move in January if he's had enough? Because, the question is, where else is he going? Yes, he might want to stay at a higher level, but where? And who's going to bloody pay up? Because we want some money. You know what I mean?
Right.
What did we offered by Saudi last summer? Not last summer, before he signed his contract, we offered made a few firm offers from Saudi.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it is, what's funny, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more in a segment that I have later in the show. But what is funny about this is coming from a player that we have not heard from all year. When's the last time you heard an interview with Mohamed Salah? In the chat, you can tell me. When's the last time you remember Mohamed Salah giving an interview? Crickets here.
He doesn't do a lot. Like, he's a private bloke, and it's not really his vibe, like, to talk a lot to the media unless he's directly, asked something after the match. He's not really one that comes out ever, really.
My point is, Lee, my point is this. Last season, just as Red Armchair supporters saying, last season is the last time you really heard from Mohamed Salah. And I don't mean once or twice. I mean once. You heard about it. Pretty much he was open to all of a sudden getting in. And he did the exact same thing he did this time. Randomly came out and started talking about his contract. He randomly came out and started talking about his contract. And then that obviously utilized his chessboard to put his chess pieces in. He is a very calculated, smart individual. And that much I will never doubt at all. But think about it. We have a team that is in crisis. Everyone keeps shooting arrows at our captain, and some rightfully so. But I see our captain having to get in front of cameras and answer questions, and answer sometimes uncomfortable questions, sometimes standing next to pundits that have been talking trash about him and have to seriously answer questions as if everything's cool de la. But there was a time when people referred to our quote unquote leadership circle was Ali, Robbo, obviously Trent, but he's no longer with the team, Salah, and Virgil. That was our leadership core. Those are the senior players, the major senior players on this team. Ali's been hurt. And Ali's not scared to get in front of cameras. I've seen Ali talk more than I've seen Mohamed Salah talk. So there's nothing about being a vice captain. I've seen
The thing with Mo
is and everything.
The thing with Mo, he's quite a quiet guy, and like his leadership or whatever, his seniority was always like, you know, with his goals and his assists, just by being our match winner so often. You know, he didn't come out and do a lot of talks like other senior players did. But like, you know, it's sort of like, you know, leading by example, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
But now that he's not the match winner or even scoring any goals, it's a bit different, isn't it? And that is the life of a forward. You know, he is a forward. You know, so
I think it was
life of forward.
It is the life of forward. He was on, I think the numbers, he's on 4 goals, 2 assists. I think the numbers he had last year were over 4 times the numbers that he has today on his GA. At this moment in the season, he was somewhere in the 20 plus GA by this time in the season.
I understand why he referenced last season, because it was a record-breaking season for him, and it was a crucial season for us, like, and he has a lot to do with that. Like, you know, we played through him a lot, like, but that was then and this is now. Things have changed.
That's sick. That's crazy. Imagine that. He got a contract. He came out. He got his wish. He got his contract, which is worth in the region of $480,000 per week if he hits all bonuses and clauses.
Well, the club will be keen to get that off their
plate. Yeah,
off the bill, won't they?
Yeah. Keane, Roy Keane was questioning Virgil's leadership, the man who dumped his country at a World Cup because the training pitch was too bouncy. Exactly. You know, I mean, like, it's so wild. So, like, basically, let me add these other 2 former Liverpool players. You decide on what other, you know, adjective you want to put behind their names. But Danny Murphy and Michael Owen piled in from the ex-player side by saying this. Danny Murphy said his angle was very blunt. He said, you can't be angry. Just a quote. You can't be angry. You can't be frustrated, but you can be angry. You can be frustrated, but you keep it inside the club. You knock on the manager's door. I'm almost positive. You know what? Not only does Mohamed Salah have Hughes' number, he probably has Edwards' number. He probably has our John Henry's number.
Mate, I remember with Danny Murphy.
I bet he might even call him John at this point.
I remember with Danny Murphy when Rafa come in, like, he fell out of favour, like, immediately. Rafa wasn't interested in Danny Murphy. Yeah. I remember Danny saying, you know, I'm not getting played now, so he was off to Fulham. But, like, he didn't kick up too much of a stink like Murphy. He just accepted it, that his time was done at the club. And he's right that he shouldn't come out and have a go at the club. You can have a go at the manager a bit and say, like, oh, I don't understand why he isn't playing me. But it's just something you got to accept as a player, and Murphy did that and moved on. It wasn't too short of time before Murphy was like scoring winners and being an integral player, and then all of a sudden, new man comes in and he's out of favour. And that's the way football is.
Right.
No, Murphy.
But he just goes
class goals. Murphy, I love Danny Murphy. He was brilliant.
Yeah, but Danny Murphy said by doing this publicly, he made it. And this is still quoting Danny Murphy. By doing this publicly, he made it all about him and created a problem for the whole team. Michael Owen did a softer take at it, but it was still firm, but it was a softer take. You know how people will be about Michael Owen's comments on anything Liverpool. But he said, you've carried this team. You're a legend, but you still can't say this publicly. Go to AFCON, bite your lip, and see how things look when you come back. That's my perspective, to be honest with you. Brethren, you are about to go to AFCON. This team is going to have to take on all of this weight while you go and be with your lads in Egypt. That's wild. If we were all on the same team here, right? And then all of a sudden the team and it wasn't going well. And all of a sudden I'm like, cool, I'm going to make the situation worse. I'm going to dip because I already had this planned vacation. Okay. And then I'll talk to you guys maybe when I get back, maybe not. Maybe I'll be gone. How's that a team player? How's that club first? For all these people that keep telling me, it's not, I'm not player FC and all these other different things. I want to hear you now. Speak up. I would love to hear you now speak up because this is not team first. No person decides to say, we've had 10 games. I showed that stat, Lee. Do you remember that stat yesterday?
Yes,
I showed a stat where we showed the last 10 games. We've drawn the last 2, 1-1. And then before that, we were 1 win and I think 6 losses. Now, the only difference, the only marker, or one of the only markers is Salah thinks that we're trying to say, it's all you're the scapegoat, Salah, and this is all because of you. I don't think anyone on this channel has said that. I don't think anyone on this channel would even try to incite that. But what we can say is that sometimes you have to take one for the team. Salah's saying I'm being disrespected. You're disrespecting the club. You're disrespecting your teammates. That's the difference. No one wants to disrespect Salah. You know how difficult it is to even talk about legends, period. Yeah. Especially when you're a living legend. But go ahead. You want to say
no, I'm never going to disrespect the guy. I do understand why he feels like this, and it's right before AFCON as well, which you won't like. But, again, like I said before, nobody is guaranteed a starting place. There's no way he promised him that he wouldn't be dropped or he'd always start. Like when he signed his contract, as I said before, all I could imagine them saying was, yes, you are an integral part of this team / squad and will be next season. No, it hasn't worked out that way in the last 3 matches. But, I mean, it is only the last 3 matches. He played all the other ones, let's not forget. It's only the last week where he ain't been playing, mate. It's only been going on a week where he ain't been playing.
Yeah, and guess what? We've won and drawn 2 games.
Mate, our record without Salah was brilliant. Like when those few times where he has been missing for AFCON and all the other, we won it.
Yeah, because guess what? Because his teammates stepped up and said, we're not going to let this go down. We're not going to We're not going. You've done incredible heavy lifting for us. You're an immense part of this team, and this is a team effort. And once you're gone, we're not going to allow for this to go south. We're going to step up our ways and make sure that when you return, we don't dishonor your previous work, your contributions. That's how I look at it. And these kind of comments, doing this at this time, is basically saying, yeah, deal with it. I'm out. Look at me. Look, he's even got people getting his back. For those that think that that Virgil, you can say what you want about Virgil van Dijk. We're going to get into a little bit more about that in later on in this conversation. But before all this blew up, Virgil van Dijk did what captains are supposed to do, in my opinion. He backed this teammate. He said, we need him. He's still a fantastic player. He's disappointed. And that's normal if you're not playing. But Virgil says, I need him around as one of those. Let me emphasize this word. Let me make sure this sounds bold, underlined. It is italics, whatever. He says, I need him around as one of the leaders, and that he's not worried. That's what the captain says publicly. But here's the harder question. How long can you stay captain of a ship where your biggest star is publicly saying, someone doesn't want me in the club, and this might be my goodbye? There's only so long you can keep both sides in the same dressing room before something breaks. And with this interview, I'm hoping he hasn't put the end of his Liverpool career in motion. Because it'll be a horrible way to go out. You have to admit that, Lee, right?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. But this is where we are, isn't it? Can't really, nothing can really be done about players, athletes aging, can it? I'm not saying he's finished. I mean, we might get some joy out of him after AFCON, but I'd be surprised if he played before he went. At least from the start.
I think it's so.
He might come on as sub against Brighton, but I don't see him starting.
He could have started. I think he could have started against Inter. There was no guarantee that we go against Inter and he doesn't start. There's no guarantee that happens. He has certainly made it more of a likelihood now by his comments. But I'm saying that we have, before he goes away, and I want to make sure that I get this loud, or say this loud and clear. Before he goes away, we have a match in Champions League against a formidable side on the road in Italy. And not only do we have a match against a formidable side in Italy, which will definitely differentiate where we're going to be, what our European hopes are going to mount out to be. Because the last thing we want to do is have to be in a playoff in the Champions League, because that's 2 more games that we have to play, and then certainly don't want to be at the bottom of the table, because then that means we have to play a more obviously a better team in a playoff game just to get into the next round. Whereas into a round where we're playing against a team that has had those days off. I don't know. It's we are. It is questionable timing to bring this tantrum up when we are arguably about to try to fight for our placement in Europe and Champions League. If we win against Inter, we are all of a sudden in the top 8. Not only do we win against Inter, are we in the top 8, which is huge. It also means that if we beat Brighton, if we beat Brighton and everything stays the same, maybe some of the teams above us don't get points, or maybe some of them lose or something like that, we have the potential of going into 4th place. I believe it is. We'll be top 5, I know for a fact. Think about that. We're 1 point off of 5th place and 2 points off, I believe, 4th place. Think about that. 1 win would put us in 4th place. Now I'm gonna double check to make sure my math's not wrong. But really think about that. And this is the
if we could beat Sunderland and Leeds, we'd only be 6 points behind Arsenal, which is 2 wins. But them 4 points we dropped means it's 10, doesn't it?
Yep. It is. We were 23 points. Crystal Palace, who won today, sits in 4th place with 26 points. We'd be tied on points, not necessarily tied, or they had the goal differential above us, but we would be tied on points, let's say, if Crystal Palace were to lose. And all things stayed the same. We can crawl our way back into the top 4. But it takes wins. It takes us doing our part. I'm not dismissing that at all. We won't do that at all. Shout out to Dara. Dara's asking, here's my question. Who is our next captain? I've heard that question probably being tossed around. I'm going to have I do have a take on that. It's further down in the segment. It's one of the last segments. I did an op-ed on that, so I could answer that, but it'll be within that little piece that I have. Do you think Salah's right on substance but wrong on method? Do you think it's more something like that, Lee?
Do I think he's gone about it in the wrong way?
Yeah, like, is he right on substance, and like, does he have a foundation to stand on? Should the team be giving him more?
He has a right to question why he hasn't been playing, but he did it in the wrong way. I think he could have been a little bit more tactful, considering he's still got 18 months left on his contract.
Right.
But maybe he wants to go now. Maybe he's thinking, look, if I'm here, I'm not playing, what good is it to me at my age? We just don't know, do we, what's going on in his head? But it's also the question, would he want to go to Saudi at this stage? Would he feel offended that, like, I'm not done yet, I'm not dropping to that level yet? But, you know,
yeah, I don't think he does want to go.
Where else would he go after here? Who can afford?
There's most players that go to Saudi Arabia, they stay half a year, sometimes as little as half a year, much less a year to 2.
Yeah, a bit different.
And they're already talking about trying to figure their way back to playing in in Europe, or even in other countries like, America or something.
Yeah, a lot of players just haven't settled, like, and haven't took to it, but it would be different, I think, for Mo, like, know what he's going to, like, and that, and the culture wouldn't be very much different from Egypt, like, stone's throw away from Egypt, really, like, isn't it, in geographical terms? But just because other players, like, have come back quickly doesn't mean others would not want to go there. And especially with Mo, because we know how famous and how big a deal he is, like, for the Muslim world, like, and Saudi's the place, the centre of it, really, like, where the big money league is. It's just up to him whether he wants to drop down to that level right now. But I mean, what is he, 34? And when's he 34? Or does he turn 34?
When does he turn 34? Are you asking? I'd have to look on that one. Hold on a second. I'll look for you. He turns in June 15th is his birthday.
And that will be his 34th, will it? June 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the start of by the start of next year, he'll be 34. Yeah, Red on Chess Sport says it. Liverpool have
Galatasaray is a good option. It's a better level for the league, where he could go. But I've got me doubts that Galatasaray could afford to buy him the fee that we'd probably.
I think they can afford. They can afford to buy him. They won't be able to match. They won't be able. What's perfect is that if we are going to sell him, then the fact that Galatasaray are even involved in the negotiation means that Saudi Arabia is going to have to slightly overpay to get him to come to Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia was the only player in the game, then it'd be a different story. But they're not. There's other contenders. Whether it's, I don't think he's coming to America. I don't think Galatasaray works for him because Turkey does have Muslim influence, a heavy Muslim influence. So that would be it wouldn't be a cultural shift for him, or at least the things that you're speaking on from the Saudi Arabia aspect or angle of influence for him. But what does this do to the dressing room is my last question before I move on, because I do have a segue from it. But what does this do to the dressing room, do you think?
I think it caused a bit of a stink because other players, a couple of other players might be thinking.
Do you think it divides it?
No, I don't think it caused that bad. That would be divided, not too weird. But a few players might get the hump with what he said. You know what I mean? Sort of like might be of the opinion, why are you undroppable? You've only been out the side.
I mean, like, if you imagine,
some of them might look at it like that. Someone like Chiesa could look at it and think,
exactly.
Side for a week, mate. I've never been in the bastard side. You know what I mean? So
exactly. That is some goal to look to be like, oh, I deserve to play. When you have a Chiesa, who I think arguably is one of the most deserving players on this team to get minutes, and he gets more times than not, he's getting garbage minutes, or he's getting minutes where he's asked to go chase a result.
Your name only carries you so far in football. Once you're not doing what you've always been doing.
Some real ball.
Once you're not doing what you've always been doing, like, things change very, very quickly. And it's the speed with which they've changed that has been another thing that has probably taken Mo's breath away. Like, a few months ago, he was flavour of the month still, and we were winning the league. Then all of a sudden he isn't. So it's hard for the man to get used to. He's not a robot. He is quite an emotional person, I believe. Like, and he comes across that way. Like, he's very contained when he gives interviews usually, and this was a departure from that. Like, to see him sort of like letting off steam and venting spleen a little bit about his situation. But as I say, he's only been out the side for a week. You know what I mean?
Well, while Salah's lighting these fires in the media zone, there's another story burning above Arne Slot's head, and that is reports from Germany claim the club have already drawn a line in the sand. Reports in Germany have it being that Slot has until Christmas not to show progress, not to be unlucky in defeat, but to completely turn this around. Results, table, and performances. And the detail that really stands out to me when I was reading some of those reports is that Liverpool have made no contact with the guy I would like to see be our hero and rescue us from these flames. And that is Apparently, they have made no contact with Jurgen Klopp about a return, not even exploratory. So then that makes you say, well, what does that tell you? Has phase 2 begun? Is this the contingency list? Or is there a contingency list? Apparently, that contingency list does exist. And at the top of the list is guess whose name? Guess whose name is at the top of the list?
Jurgen Klopp.
No. I just said that there's no
Well, mate, I've got to say about Jurgen Klopp, I've got to be brutally honest about it. It's rather unlikely that he'd come back so soon. But if he could, I'm sure he'd get a tune out of these players like pretty quickly. It's just I don't think he's coming back to save us in the way I would like him to. Mate, I'd be over the moon. I really would like it because I think he could do it as well. I think Jurgen could come back and do it, but I think it's too soon after his exit. And it is rare that managers go back to the same club. Well, managers go back to the same club for second spells, but not usually big clubs like Liverpool. You don't see it. You might see it at smaller clubs, but you don't usually see it at Man United's, Liverpool's, even Arsenal's, let's say, or Chelsea's. You don't see a second spell for a manager. When they've gone, and that's it. Who's at the top of the?
I wouldn't say that wouldn't go that far because Chelsea went back. Chelsea went back to. Didn't they go back to Mourinho?
Yes, they did once, yeah, and it worked for them. But I would say that is the one example of it happening at a big club with lots of money.
I mean, the one result, the one player, one manager that it happens a lot is Mourinho, actually.
Well, he did it at Chelsea, but I can't think of any other big English club where a manager's left and come back.
Oh, English club. You're saying English club. That's why, yeah. He did just go back to. Didn't he just go back to Portugal? And then where he started everything for himself, right?
Yeah, he has. He's gone back to Portugal, Jose. Yeah. He got sacked, didn't he, at Besiktas? Or was it Galatasaray? Which one was it he was at? Was it Besiktas?
It was. Ooh, that's a good question.
It was either Besiktas or Fenerbahce, wasn't it?
I think it was Besiktas. I think it was.
Yeah, Gordon Mill managed Besiktas. He was like Liverpool player in the 60s, for Bill Shankly. He managed Besiktas. He was the first ex-Liverpool guy to go out there and manage in Turkey. But he's done well, right. Gordon Mill.
Well, the name that I was searching for someone to put in the chat or shout out on the panel here was Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard's name has been put out there as an interim manager. You really couldn't script this more dramatically if you tried. A club legend with unfinished business, fractured dressing room, a title defense in ruins. What else can I add to that? A fan base already on the edge. Would Stevie G stabilize the team? Maybe. I think you have to say maybe. You can't say definitely no. Would he ignite the fan base emotionally? I think yes. There would be a large contingent of us that would be very supportive of the player simply because he's a legend of the club. And we don't want to see him ruin. We don't want to see him ruin his legacy.
No, he would offer an immediate pick-me-up, but the one reason that I'd be reticent is because of who he is. If it went sour, it'd be horrible. It'd be a nasty experience if it didn't work for him and he wasn't able to get the results. So that's what puts me off with Stevie being interim manager. I wouldn't want to be in a position like
I wouldn't
where.
want him to be in that position either. No.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if he's up to it. Like, it's a big task. I mean, he would be in the short term, like, and I suppose he could help us out till the summer if we sack Slot by the new year, and we didn't have a new man and had to wait until the summer. Then I suppose he could ostensibly do a decent job and get us qualified for the Champions League. But I'd be worried about it going wrong. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure, I know. You could certainly worry about it going wrong, but if there's anyone that knows about making, if there's any person that knows about making a storied run in the Champions League for a team that is underperforming in their league status, it would be Stevie G, I think. But all the same. Look, I don't know if it magically fixes the tactical chaos. I don't think that's a whole nother question. Slot insists that he feels trusted by this board. He says the conversations with the board are normal, win or lose. But here's where I have to say there's a chill in his tone. He doesn't look like the same man with the same swagger, and laughing and being, like whimsical with the press corps. He looks like a man coaching through uncertainty, not ahead of an answer. So I'm going to say, I think, reflecting back on that, on the case of what we heard about Mohamed Salah, what we're now hearing about these possible, Salah versus Slot. That's like kind of the headlines you're seeing a lot of. And personally, I think there was a line. There's been some, obviously, a lot of articles written about this, and I've read almost every one of them practically from top to bottom. And what was kind of wild about that is Salah walked into that, cramped Ellen Road mixed zone, because that's what looked. I thought they were like. The reason why I thought it was a deep fake, because I was like, are they is that the hallway? Like where is that? It looked really like everyone was just packed into this little hallway, and he's sitting there, towel over his shoulder, and he says, "I'll be back. I want to say something." He doesn't snap. He doesn't scream. He speaks slowly, calmly, like everyone who's already accepted the consequences, or like someone who's already accepted the consequences. He says the club broke promises. He implies sabotage from inside the building. He makes it clear his relationship with Slot is basically, done, non-existent. And the writer sums, like a lot of those who wrote these articles, a lot of the writers that I saw write their articles, all said this. He said, if this is how Salah's Liverpool story ends, it will damage his legacy. I think that what Salah has not really seen as something is that, sure, Slot can lose in this, but I also believe Salah loses. I believe the club loses. I believe us as supporters lose in this. Because public civil war is the one battle you never win. You can see what our inconsistency is doing for our fan base as is. Sometimes the internet, this is one of the I think I'm trying to make it at least one of the few places that we can all come together and have sensible discourse and dialogue, and we can talk, and we can actually debate and do what we need to do, educate, enlighten, all that. But it's like our fan base has become all about people getting cooked, about people being disrespectful to each other, people being divisive. And that's what leads to the uncomfortable truth. Right now, Liverpool might not just need tweaks. We might just need a complete reset. Is that how do you feel about it, real quick, before I even get it? Because I do believe Salah is out of order, and I do believe Slot is out of ideas or
Well, they're
viable.
both struggling, aren't they? Like, so it's being billed as this, isn't it? Like Slot against Salah. The coach, I don't have any relationship with the coach. Well, you had one last season. When did the relationship end? The last week when you got dropped. I mean, now I don't want to say this, to be honest, like, because I understand where he's coming
Don't
from.
say it. Don't say it.
But yeah,
Don't
I
say it.
think he went a trifle too far with his letting off steam. It doesn't look that good. I really don't know what's going to happen with him, like whether he can win. I mean, look, if we can write our form when he's away at AFCON and get into a winning groove, then it's going to be hard for him to win his place back when he returns, like, regardless of him being $500,000 a frigging week or whatever it is when he hits all his bonuses. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of money, like, in it. So the thing is, if he's out the team, he's not going to stay that long, is he, on those wages? Like, because it's not suicidal, like, financially, but to pay a player who isn't playing that amount of money, like, it's a no-go, in it. So I think he's going to be moving on, if not January, the summer. I think there's only a small chance it'll be January, but it could still happen.
It could. Look, I'm being brutally honest. I don't sugarcoat too often, at least. Some might say I do have a sweet tooth, but it's all good. I am not going to sugarcoat this mess because it won't help any of us. Liverpool has spent millions, 450, close to $500 billion, to be honest with you. Talk about millions. After winning the title, every line of the squad has been upgraded. Van Dijk, Ali, Nunez, Dom, Isak, Wirtz, Kirkes. Your outgoings and your incomings, and some of players that got to stay. And yet the football has developed into tactical incoherence. It's turned into late collapses, no structure, no identity, no accountability, no confidence. I just think the reason why I say that I think Salah is out of order with the way he went about this is because I think Salah should not have gone public like that. If I had a problem with Lee, or heaven forbid, but if we had a problem, right? I wouldn't put it out there I wouldn't go to the first publication or first media thing and say, "Oh, I've got a problem with Lee. He wants me out." You know, we go backstage. You know, we go to the office and we would hash it out.
It's a bit petulant, isn't it?
That's not
like telling tales, like when you're a kid, and it, like, on other kids who've done your head in or something, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's also because I respect Lee. That's also because I consider Lee a good friend. If you don't have respect for someone, or you don't rate someone, chances are you are going to put them on Front Street. You're going to put your business on Front Street, as they say it. And I'm not saying that Slot couldn't have been proactive with it or a better communicator with it, because Slot should be doing better with this talent. He should be producing better level football. People have been saying the players have to hold accountability. They absolutely do. Don't let this come. Don't think I'm doing it, and because I'm certainly not. But I have been saying it time and time again. These players need to hold accountability. These players need to hold accountability as professionals of their own Men. We're talking about men here. But both things can be true at the same time, because the coach, in my opinion, is always the person that has to set those players. Got to go onto the pitch and play the game. They've got to do the instructions well and get the results. However, the coach has to put the players into the right positions, the right places on the pitch, the right schemes, the right systems to maximize their talent so that they can bring home glory for us. Oh man, but there are people out there that and this is something that's been interesting. There are people out there that are already I saw Dara's question. He was asking who's your next, who's the next captain. I'm not thinking that far into the future, because I honestly am focused on the fact that my captain, wears the number 4. And whoever has that armband is the captain of our team. I'm gonna do my best to support him. I know that I say that because I've wavered before. I wavered when I wasn't really feeling Hendo's leadership and him making waves in the locker room because he wasn't getting minutes and him putting himself before the club, and I remember obviously Milner it wasn't at the level where he was going to get minutes, but the one consistent player on the pitch at that time was Virgil van Dijk. But now we have people out there that want to see Dominik Szoboszlai be their captain, and I'm like, time will come for him to be that player. I'm not saying that Dom can't be. Heck, I was one of Dom's only supporters during periods of the season last year, and obviously that was not an easy place to be. But I like the comments that he had to say, because the contrast that Dom said really tells where the team is, and that is Salah's out here, throwing everyone under the bus in the mix zone, and Dominik Szoboszlai was analyzing, dissecting the performance he sees on the pitch. He's not talking about why is it always me, like he's Balotelli. Dominik Szoboszlai said, I don't know what happened after 2-0. I think we thought the game was over. This is the mentality collapse. This is cultural decay. This is like a team without fear, without urgency, without standards. Then he dropped the line that should be printed above every locker. Everybody must go home and ask themselves if they did everything possible. If the answer is yes, keep going. Then keep going. But if it's not, you need to change something. I will admit, Dominik Szoboszlai, that is leadership. That is accountability. That's not trying to pass the buck. That's Liverpool, or at least what Liverpool is supposed to be, in my opinion. And when he's asked if the title-winning team from last season is still here, he could have lied and said, absolutely. He could have said the PR pieces and everything else. He could have protected feelings, but he didn't. He said, we have to find solutions. We have to show reactions. Everybody has to take responsibility, not just the older guys or those that have been here longer. Everyone has to show they're ready to fight for this badge. That is a brutal assessment, and that is a spot-on assessment. It's the reason why Virgil got into the locker room and was reading the riot act about how can you not be angry with a result, with the results they've been getting. We didn't get into player ratings from the game. I'm gonna knock out some player results before we wrap up this session here. I think, and to answer songs per K is Dom speaking up because BBD's notably silent. I think, truthfully, I'm not an ITK, but I'm just, my perspective is that I believe that we're now coming into or getting close to the middle of December, right? We're getting close to, or we're going to be very getting staged in December. We're getting close to the middle of December, right? So we've had the end of August. I'm not going to count that, but we had September, October, November. So we've had 3 months of football so far. And like I said, other than Virgil van Dijk, I don't think pretty much he's the only person, win or lose, that you see for the most part get in front of that camera. There's only so many times you can keep going in front of that camera after the last 10 games we had in the Premier League alone. Mix in a couple of losses here and there from other tournaments, that you're just repeating the same things. Exactly what Norm is saying. I think Virgil has spoken enough, and what more can he say? Virgil is a proper leader, and I think he is. I don't think there's anyone in that locker room that demands more respect than Virgil van Dijk by his fellow teammates. Oh, big up. We got Brian in the house. Big up.
Virgil's always led by example, hasn't he? A few of his performances have been subpar, but you know, it's a few, and it's a team thing as well. I mean, I was saying this about Mo, like, over the last few months, but it's slightly different with Virgil in that, like, you know, he is so integral, and he is undroppable at the moment because there is literally nobody else we could play. There literally isn't. And would you want to anyway? Like, I mean, there's no way for me that Virgil van Dijk's done yet. He's still got something left in him. How long he's got, I don't know, like, but it's a different thing. As I said, he's always led by example, hasn't he? And he is quite vociferous and has become even more so as the captain. He was a natural choice to take the captain's armband once Henderson had left the club. So, you know, I think people are getting a little bit bent out of shape over Virgil and are getting on my tit a little bit, like, with that stuff about Virgil. Have a bit of respect for the man, please.
Yeah. I thank you. Well said. Well said. I was going to think about it. I think that Sammy is the only captain that's been. He's the only player that was replaced as a captain, wasn't he? Do you know, Lee?
What? Sorry, ask me that again.
Is Sammy Hyypiä? Is he the only Liverpool player that you can that has been ever stripped of the armband during a season, at least?
I think
didn't Stevie become captain in place of?
And the one that caused the big stink really was like Phil Thompson being replaced by Graham Souness. Like, Phil was annoyed about that. Well, no, I don't even know if that was the case, but Souness and him never got on because he took the captaincy off Phil Thompson. And then when Souness took over as manager, he got rid of Phil Thompson from the backroom staff because Phil was already taking his badges and all that. But then he come back under Houllier, like, and had a righteous return as Gerrard's right-hand man. So that was all well and good. But yeah, it can cause a bit of a stink sometimes, the captaincy, like, and who thinks they deserve it and all that palaver. I can't remember changing captain during the season. No, that's one I can't really remember. May have happened, like, but
I know. Let's see if I know Brian. We got Brian in the house. We got Norm in the house. Red Arms a supporter. They're all patrons of Liverpool history. Maybe they could help us think about or reflect on some of that history. I don't remember. I honestly do not remember exactly how it unfolded, but I think that was the case. Yeah, that would be eerily weird if that was to happen then. But I just think that I honestly I think that it is a place where you don't want to go. It's a place where you don't want to see this team end up being, and it's a place that we currently find ourselves in. You know, I just think that again to go back to fully answering Psalms 4K. I think that the reason why you're not seeing Virgil necessarily be consistently in front of the camera now is because I think other teammates have decided that they want to be good teammates. I guess you could say they want to step up and they're sick and tired of their captain getting all the abuse and having to answer all the questions. They're stepping up and saying, "Hey, you know what? We'll let us show some accountability." We've seen Robbo step up and say, "You know what? The players got to play better." In essence, we've seen Verge. We saw, we even saw Verts answering questions. And we saw Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones answering questions, a Scouser answering questions because he has a different perspective than most, him stepping up and asking questions. I think that's important. And again, when it comes to captains, I think more likely than not, normally a center half is looked at as being a captain for a team. Simply because he's able to see the pitch a lot more. Not many times. I know Dara said that his captain was Robbo, or he said Robbo, or he said his captains. If he were to replace, or the next captain to replace Virgil as a captain would be Robbo or Ali. Not often there's not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not often an occurrence that a goalkeeper gets to become the captain of a team. Primarily because it's difficult for a goalkeeper to be able to influence the referee or converse with the referee when there's interactions. Let's say a player in the opposing third gets a foul called on him, and he needs the captain to kind of step up and say, "Hey, that's not a foul," or protect him from getting a yellow card or whatever, by trying to plead his case. You can't do that as a goalkeeper because chances are you're all the way at the other end of the pitch. And as far as Robbo, I think Robbo falls under the same pretense of Milner, in that I think Milner was an incredible vice captain, but as a vice captain, you don't have to be on the pitch at all times. So, that's true. What do you think about this? What do you think about this quote, Lee? What do you think about what Norm has to say here?
Yeah, another one who led by example with his form. Yeah, he was a great captain. Was Hansen. Came to him later in his career, obviously after Souness left. But yeah, he was a marvellous captain, Alan Hansen. again, leading by example in the way Virgil does. But he was never the most vocal guy on the pitch. Like, there were other shouty players, but he was very calm and collected. Was Jockey Hansen, smashing captain.
Let's knock out these player ratings since we didn't do it yesterday. I think they'll paint the picture as to where our club's at right now. For Ali, sharp and bad conditions, abandoned by the chaos in front of him, I think, because there was plenty of it. He had no chance. I don't think he had any chance on any of the 3 goals. They weren't necessarily his fault or something like that. I gave Ali a 6 out of 10. And Lee, want to give a rating? Ali?
Ali, there was the good save, yes, the good save, when he done a good save. There was, Ali was all right, couldn't do nothing about the goals. I'll give him like a 7, which I suppose is good. Considering the performance was dog shit.
Yeah, that's a nice rating. Okay,
it's more than a lot of others will get, put it that way.
Okay, I think Connor Bradley is our next guy. I think he was impactful. He had his, I guess you call it positionally raw when it came to having to defend that right side, but he was booked early. Then he recovered, produced a brilliant assist. By the way, he had growth in the game. He still needs some help around him to help him hold it down, but that assist was fantastic. But I still gave him a 6 out of 10 because the yellow. I would have given him a 7, but the yellow card knocked it down to a 6. What about Connor?
The young man, that booking was dog shit. Like, I mean, he didn't have to do it, but that guy made such a meal out of it that I wanted to be on the pitch myself so I could kick him really hard in the face. pardon the imagery. But
wow.
Connor was all right. I'd give Connor a 5.5. That doesn't really suggest he was all right, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. But all right, 5.5. You gave.
I was going to say 6, but
you gave Ali a 7, and then you give Connor a 5.5. That's rough. All right, this next player. Look, I think this next player had in my terms of rating it had a disaster class. He had his awkward challenge of along the touchline or the byline actually gives away the penalty, fails to block the equalizer. He didn't step up, right? He retreated rather than pushed up to take on the player. His confidence is not what we need it to be. There's no accountability for it either. I gave Ibu a 2 out of 10.
So angry am I with the moment that turned the game on its head.
It's the moment that changed the game completely.
Yes, I will join you in rating him under 3 digits. In fact, I'll rate him under 2. I'll give him 1.5.
1.5? Okay.
I was tempted to say 0.5, like, for a laugh, but I suppose you can't really do that. He's got to at least get 1.
That's all good. You'll wait till we get to my Arne Slot rating, so you'll see what happens. All right. Our captain. I think our captain should have scored, but that header came incredibly close. That keeper had to make an absolutely fantastic save, by the way. I think he did his best at trying to organize the back line, but obviously it falls down to accountability on your own. You can feel his fury at the final whistle, because I think, much like Robbo, I think that Virgil van Dijk takes a lot of pride in the Liverpool badge. I honestly do. I think some people don't recognize that, but I honestly think that Virgil van Dijk sees himself as a Liverpool Red through and through. But I gave him a 6 out of 10. What'd you give Virgil? Anticipation.
I'll give him a 5.5.
Oh yeah. By the way, you're right. Maybe I should give him a. I'll give. Would you give Bradley?
Was good. He was close with the header.
You gave Virgil 5.5.
Yeah.
And then you gave Bradley 5.5.
Marks, mate. Everyone's getting it.
I'm just asking it for clarity. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, they're all getting it.
I'm not judging your things. But yeah, I gave Bradley a 6. I'll have to knock it down to a 5 because you're right. Norm just reminded me when he did it. I knew that was going to happen, and then but by getting that yellow card, he's going to miss the Brighton game. So now, great, you're healthy, but now you're not available because the yellow card. So,
mate, that fella bloody milked it though, didn't he? Like, he hardly touched him. He hardly caught him in the sense that, like, you could be hurt by it. Like, it was, again, another example of, like, swinging the lead by players, like the slightest of touch and the roll.
Oh, around, absolutely. Retro gives Virgil a 7. Let's see. Let's get ratings. Dom is on a yellow as well. Yes, I think Dom is like very close to getting suspended for his yellows. Yep. Finally, in the back line, player that I didn't care if we saw Robbo or Kirkes at this point. I just thought, like, yeah, he's one away. Dom is one away from the next yellow he gets. He'll be taken out of. He'll be suspended for a game, and that I think goes all the way to like January, like 1st of January or something like that. Maybe even like a week into January. But so he's got a long ways to go without getting a yellow. So well, hopefully he can do that. But Kirkes, I thought he had energy. I think he had effort. I think he had proper balance to his aggression. He was wasteful in big moments, but he was definitely putting a lot out there. Cubertson, maybe that's Cubertson. Maybe that is, yeah. It's like Kirkes and it's like Bradgelina or something like that, right? I gave Kirkes a 6. I gave him a 6. What are you gonna give Kirkes?
4.5, 4.5.
Okay. Oh wow, wasn't expecting that low of a grade. Okay, anyway, moving on. Gravy. Best moments was the weight of the pass for Dominik Szoboszlai's goal. Outside of that, he was inconsistent. He drifts in and out of the game. Benifer was one of the better ones. Gravy. He's one of the few players I have a sound clip for, so you got to play it. He gets a 5. So obviously, I don't have any agendas. That is not a good score.
Mate, I've missed that sound clip, Gravy, because usually we hear it when he's been brilliant.
When he's good.
He's been brilliant. Yeah. But it's not the case at the moment. Like, the gravy's a bit lumpy. And not that
emotional damage.
Okay, that's what it is. That's right now. Oh man, you're right about that. What do you think? What do you have for a gravy? Gravy's a bit thin. It is. It is. It's a little runny.
I'll give him a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, that pass was delicious.
Okay, I give you that. I said I wasn't gonna judge your answers, but I now see why you gave him a 6.5. I got you.
I can't give many of them too much because I've given out some shockingly low ones for others, so I can't go giving too many of them a great.
I know that was a gift. That was a gift, but I understand that. I thought this next player could arguably have been the player of the match, possibly. Especially at times, I thought that he was contending with it. If we'd won the game, I think he would have been possibly. Maybe not. I understand some might think I'm about to bring up Dom's name, but I'm not. I'm bringing up Curtis Jones. I think he was our best midfielder. I think he was confident. I think he was mobile. I think he was extremely unlucky not to score when he hit the bar in the first half. That shot when he let that shot fly, I was like, that's got a chance. And I was hoping it was going to clip the bottom part of the bar and go in, but it didn't. I think he deserves some better support in the midfield, but he didn't get it necessarily. I think Jones was possibly our best midfielder in that game. I gave and also if you notice too, Jones was the player. He reminded me of. I'm not saying he reminds me of Thiago, but I said he reminds me of when we would have a Thiago. He would drop deep, and he would kind of like drop in between our center halves to pick up the ball, so that our center halves didn't have to try to like rely on it. And you notice because a lot of teams have been trying to make Ibu be the focal point for our distribution. They're like, oh, give it to Ibu so he can either pass or dribble the ball up the pitch. He's dipping deep to get the ball and then progressing it with his dribbling and his passing skills. I gave him a 7 out of 10. What'd you give Curtis?
Yeah, I could go along with that myself. I thought he acquitted himself well, and he was very unlucky. Not far away from making that one count. We've known for a long time he's got that in his locker because of the Everton goal, like that brought him to prominence and got him into the team. But I thought he acquitted himself well enough, Curtis, and he was one of the better performing players on the day. But I haven't been that pleased with him recently with his appearances. I've been like that he hasn't made that much difference, but I thought he was good. Yeah, I thought that was a good showing from Curtis. Gets him a 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This next player is the player that I would like to see this team flow its offense through. That's a little bit of a run on words there, but I get you. He looked a little timid in this game, but maybe that's because they were pushing the Leeds was definitely being aggressive, pushing the envelope a little bit with a lot of cases. You can see the talent in this player. Flo, I gave a 6. I gave him a 6. What'd you give Flo?
Yeah, I'll give him a 6, yeah.
Okay. He did. You were right about that. He did give him an Ekitike brace. He did say Ekitike brace. Who is are we talking about Jones? You guys talking about Curtis. They're still talking about Curtis in the chat. The next player has been arguably the best player of the season for us. I think that's unfortunate because if the players that are being asked to get GA and the likes for us, if they could just capitalize off of the work, maybe they would be mentioned in the same breath. But Dominik Szoboszlai, he's not a natural winger, but but he tried to be everywhere. I do like him being on the right wing as a replacement, temporary replacement for Salah. But this is like kind of us seeing how it would have possibly worked the last time that Salah went to AFCON. But big moment, composed finish. He's the heartbeat of what seems to be a struggling system. I gave Dominik Szoboszlai a 7 out of 10. What'd you give, Dom?
Yeah, I give him a 7. Good finish. Nice finish. You know, he's been our best player. Everyone agrees on that. He's been our best player this season. He's been playing all over the places, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I give him a 7.
Okay. I'll tell you, true question. It's this. Everyone knows that I really rate Cody Hakpo, which I did. I did speak. The artist that I had in town for my concert last night was he's a Dutch artist. He's a very talented artist, by the way. And I was asking him. I was like, "Oh, well, you know, about Cody." But Cody's last name isn't apparently a Dutch name, but like you would pronounce it with like a kind of like a CH, like a I can't even.
Yeah.
You know, so it does sound like an H. So you would say kind of like a po, like that, something like that. But like because it's not a Dutch name, you can I guess say Gakpo if that's the case. But again, Cody ran hard, works hard, but the end product wasn't there yesterday. Too many times the ball was kind of like getting stuck in his feet, and he was just not getting the right shots off. I gave Cody a 5 last night or 2 nights ago. Last night.
Yeah, he was shit. Gaffers was shit last night. 4.5.
4.5. Okay. I'm going to say this. This guy had me on Twitter. He had us having in the group chat saying shouting out Hugo Boss. Ekitike showed what he can be with service, because that second goal was a really well taken goal.
It was. The first one was a great finish, great service from Rose.
The first one was a great finish too. I was going to say that too. Yeah. The first one was like him pressing though. Huh?
Lovely ball from Rose on for the first.
Oh yeah.
I said that before. You know, with theirs having an element of like shitness about the goals. Yeah. Like, you know, our first one, although it was a lovely finish, it was an awful back pass from Rodon, wasn't it? Like,
you could hear the Ekitike chant too. By the way, the Ekitike chant isn't that I don't know it word for word, but I do know.
No, he looked up for it, Hugo. It's like it pissed me off that he never got to bask in the glory of winning us the game like he should have. I'm afraid Ibu played the biggest part in denying Hugo of basking in the glory of instigating our win. But yeah, he was excellent, Hugo. I really enjoyed it. You know, the way he got a second one quickly, it buzzed, and then they tried they looked at it for about like 1,000 bastard years, didn't they? Like,
yeah, I know. They're trying to figure out one way or another to take it away from him. They always do that.
It was funny though that they looked at it for ages and we got the goal because I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, eons later we find out, it's a goal. Like, Grace, thanks a lot.
Okay. I see Norm's telling us how the chant goes. That's cool. I heard them singing it. That's like the first time I've heard them singing that chant, really. I'm sure they've sung it before, but I just haven't heard them singing it loud enough that I could hear them singing it. Yeah, I thought he played well. I thought he was sharp with his movements. He was calm with his finishes. I would say he was actually one of the bright lights in the darkness that we're going through. Hugo, I gave Hugo a 7 out of 10. I'm only giving rounded numbers. If I was given a half, I would give him. He would certainly deserve a half, if not a full bounce. You want to give Hugo a rating or?
I'll give Hugo. I'll give him an 8. Yeah, it was really good. The 2 finishes, like, despite like it coming from a mistake, first one, not his problem, is it? Like, all he had to do was get in there, and he kept his balance and everything well. Totally took the keeper in, like, with sort of little. Then went for the near post. Yeah, he was excellent. Right, started.
He was excellent. He was like, he spurred us on to some good things. I mean, that first half was painful to watch, and then the second half was like night and day difference. Quickly, McAllister. I don't know what's going on with McAllister, but I still think that he at least had his head in the game enough that he had an absolute, incredibly smart dummy over the ball to produce, to give basically. I know dummies don't get assists, but I think sometimes they should be glorified as assists. It was an absolute righteous step over to let it go and allow for Don to step up and take the finish. Sometimes it's good field awareness, basically, is what I'm saying, because running down the pitch, you could easily just say, oh, I'm getting the pass, and you step onto the ball, and then that shot possibly gets blocked, or maybe this goalkeeper makes a save. But because of the step over, it catches the goalkeeper out of position. It gives Dom a completely open shot at goal, and he scores. However, with that said, I gave him a 5 out of 10. And then finally, I'm going to say Joe Gomez, because I didn't get Endo and Isak since they didn't really play with enough minutes. I didn't get them ratings. I gave Joey a 5 out of 10 too. What'd you give those 2 players, Lee?
The subs.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, how long was Joe on?
Not Joe. Or wait, that is Joe. I'll tell you how long he was on. Give me a second. Joe Gomez was on for, let's see. I don't think he was on that long, to be honest with you. But Joe Gomez got in at the. No, he was in a good amount of time. Yeah, Joe Gomez and McAllister got in at the 68th minute. That's why I have them.
Okay, so they had half an hour on the pitch, the pair of them.
Yeah, Endo got subbed in the 83rd minute and Isak in the 84th minute. So that's why I didn't.
Yeah, it's hard to give grades for the subs, but I'll give 5. I'll give 5 to Joe. And McAllister, the step over for the 3rd goal, it was tasty, so I'll upgrade him a bit on that. I'll give Joe a 5. I'll give Macher a 5.5 for the step over that led to Dom's 3rd goal.
Okay.
Our 3rd goal and Dom's first.
Okay. Last but not least, possibly the one that's going to get, he's going to get my lowest grades. I'll just rip that, take that spoiler out. Arne Slot, with no Salah, some might give him a point. No control, some would take points away. No in-game correction, really, because, it wasn't like we got to see anything that really made tons and tons of a difference. No identity again, except for the identity of collapsing when the chips are on the table. I gave him a generous rating of 0.1. All right, I gave my first decibel. So there you have it. I gave him a 0.1 because I would have given him a 0, but you got to give a rating. I guess you got to give him some type of number. Arne Slot, what do you want to give Arnie?
Felt a bit sorry for him because, like, the way that the game turned on its head.
Mm-hmm.
And felt a bit sorry for him in that moment because it looked for all the world like we were going to win that game if that didn't happen. And I'm pretty much convinced that we would have had that not happened. So I'll give him I'll give Arnie like a 5. Give him a 5. Give him half marks. Because the attempt...
Give him a 5. A 5 out of 10.
Up until the moment went wrong, we had it under control and we were getting the points. That was happening, mate, until that moment. So I'll give him a 5.
All right. I'll give you a moment to give you the floor to give your rants. If you want to talk about I don't know, your favorite song, or if you want to talk about what else are you guys talking about? I can see it in the corner of my eye.
Sweets called Chewits. Norm has promised me a swap with Chewits involved. The blackberry flavour Chewits. Much better than the orange flavour.
Don't say that. Don't say that again. I'm sorry. I know it's something in your that you guys would say, but it doesn't come off. That word, at least, doesn't really come off really that great. You'd have to pause.
Chewits?
No, the T word. I'm not going to say it out loud, but the T word. TWATS.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you know what that means. Yeah. That can be interpreted differently depending on what part. I understand there are certain words that are in.
Yeah, it's where you are in the Wales. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that in Britain.
Other areas of the world it means something else.
It can do what it means in America. It can mean that. I have heard it used in that way, but primarily it's to describe somebody who's intolerable, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like a see you next Tuesday. That's why. So that's kind of why. It's flexible profanity. Yes, exactly. I'm trying to keep it where I don't get like a 18 and over rating on the show or something. That's why.
I actually like that word and do use.
Let's not say it though. Let's not say it.
No, I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
If you want to be mild, you go for twit. You change the what's the name? Vowel. Twit.
The vowel.
Twit's a bit mild, like, you know what I mean.
There you go. There's something. Yeah.
But still essentially the same thing. Stupid person. Yeah. An irritating person.
Yeah. Numbskull. So yeah, go ahead. You can have the floor because I have a little bit of a rant to do. I have a little bit of a. I'm gonna see if I might be able to get it. It depends. We'll see how much time I have. But tell me what your parting thoughts. Tell me what you want to say. You know, like when Jerry. You remember the Jerry Springer show?
Sure do, mate.
Yeah. And he had and at the end he had it was like, what was it? It was Jerry's
final thought.
The final thought. Jerry's
after all the mayhem.
Exactly. You see all the mayhem. This is like a Jerry Springer show, by the way.
Take care of each other.
Kinda is.
Take care of yourself and each other.
Exactly. This is kind of like Jerry Springer, the Liverpool Reds edition of Jerry Springer. Jerry. Man, sometimes he's a scream for Steve.
Yeah, Steve was good as well.
Yeah. But yes, give us your final thoughts. Give us some of your final thoughts on anything you'd like to speak on. It could be anything.
Well, I suppose at the moment a lot of it's centered around Mo, isn't it? Like, so I'm just thinking, what's going to happen now? I see a January exit as quite unlikely, but it might happen. if they can get the deal they want and it's agreeable to Mo. But I think it's more likely to be the summer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a treasure trove of memories of goals he scored and moments, like, you know, not just the goals, the assists, like the one from Mane in Munich on the way to winning the Champions League. We've got a treasure trove of memories of the guy. But yeah, it could be like his last few months in a Liverpool shirt, couldn't it? After AFCON, or indeed his last few days if he left in January.
Okay.
I mean, last few days would probably be before he left, because January does it end in, like, it ends in January, done in AFCON. So I mean, there is a possibility that he could leave, isn't it, and not play for the club again, which would be sad, but that's football. You know, sentiment's no good. You always used to say that, the Shankly-Paisley era. Well, the Paisley era, because Shankly was seen as being too sentimental. He kept hold of his first title-winning side too long, didn't break it up. He admitted that in later years, that he should have broke his first title-winning side up sooner and replaced them. So there's no room for sentimentality, just because players have been the best thing since sliced bread for a number of years. You can't be sentimental about it, like, because you've got to win matches, and that's the long and short of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Here you go. I guess that's more like trying to think of like something for.
Yeah, that was more like Jerry's final thought.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna try to put one together. Let me see if I put this together. Dude, what is thinking about? It's like it's the. Here you go. Here's the headline. Let's go with this headline. Mo versus Slot. Who threw who under the bus? Live DNA results tonight. Or something. That's a little, maybe like that might be like a little more like Maury Povich. I think that might be more Maury Povich than it is Jerry Springer.
Well, we'll have to hire a private detective to find out, won't we, who threw who under the bus?
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. The true confessions of Sherlock Holmes. We'll get the best. We'll get Sherlock Holmes. The true confessions of Sherlock Holmes. It was him what done it.
Exactly. The little Sherlock Holmes. That'd be good. I like that Sherlock. I like the Sherlock.
I love it, mate. I buzz off Sherlock Holmes. I'm not into that new one though.
You don't like the new one? I was just about to say
I like the old ones, black and white ones. Basil Rathbone, and then in the 80s there was this fella called Jeremy Brett. When I was a kid, I used to watch them. I was an old enough in them days to like enjoy it and buzz off the stories, but don't so much like the new ones, although I did like the film with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I thought it was dead funny.
That one was good. That was good.
Oh yeah, I got a laugh out of that, mate. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good one. Divas and Schemers tonight on Jerry Springer. There you go. Look, my take. I do have another take that it's a little bit too lengthy to include in this. I wrote an op-ed, so I'll just either. I don't know if I pay for Twitter now, so I don't know if I can post it that way or not on Twitter, but I'll maybe try to make some type of like posting so you can hear my take on my extended take on this. But look, Liverpool isn't broken. I don't think we're broken, people. And that sounds weird to say, I know, after all this Jerry Springer talk, but broken teams stop caring. And I don't think that you have stopped caring. I don't think that Lee has stopped caring. And I certainly know that I haven't stopped caring about this team. This team, from all its chaos, fractures, and collapses, still fights in moments. And we have to see them do more than just fight. We have to see them certainly proceed towards success and towards progressive movement forward. You still see flashes of what we are or what we were. But right now, this isn't about talent. It's about identity. It's about standards. It's about accountability. it's about Reds family. Those things used to define us. Now they are the battleground. The season isn't over. I'm not going to even remotely think that, considering that we are, again, only 2 points out of top 4. That is so wild that if we could get our house together, we could sensibly make a run for top 4. I'm not saying that we're going to contend for the title at this moment. What we can certainly do is run for top 4. Where do we go from here? I'm sure a lot of you are asking. Well, for some might be still holding out for Osimhen to be the transfer that comes to us in January, maybe. But I'm not in that boat. The majority of us aren't in that boat. I know maybe a certain individual with the letter K in his name might be in that boat, but all the same, it's only banter. It's only fun banter. Big up K-Mac. But we've got a team that we got a team that absolutely squandered another 2-goal lead. We got a team that a manager's been reportedly told that he's got a Christmas deadline to right the ship. We got a club legend mentioned as an interim. We have a superstar forward hinting at a farewell game at Anfield. A fan base split between back Mo, sack Slot, back Slot, sell Mo. Personally, I don't think you do either. I think you have to back both of these certain some might call both legends. But we have to definitely reset this whole thing to a level and place that gets us going forward. My honest opinion, Mohamed Salah is a club legend. Arne Slot delivered a title. FSG have funded a decade where we've punched above net spend. But right now, Salah is out of order for going public like this. Slot looks out of ideas on the pitch. And Liverpool needs a reset, like I said earlier, not another excuse. The hard truth might be this. Liverpool may need to move on from both Salah and Slot to protect the one thing that actually lasts, the club and its standards. You can disagree. You can scream at the screen right now, which I'm sure some of you are. That's why this show exists. But I'm asking, drop your comments, your thoughts in the comments. You can tell me who you back. If you back Salah, do you back Slot? Do you back both? Do you back neither? Would you accept a January where Salah is sold and Slot is sacked if it meant a proper reset? I'd like to really, really know, do you still believe in the club first and last mantra that we heard from Collymore? Or has modern football, or the way that the internet and some of the younger generations' interpretations of football have taken us? And that is, do you think that it is player FC? My Reds, this is not where we thought we'd be a year after lifting the title. But we'll go through this the only way we know how, together. We'll stay loud, we'll stay honest, and never backing down from the truth. I'm Liverpool 12th man. You're the 12th man as well. And it's something that one of the reasons why I picked that name to go by is because honestly, I believe that there's no other brethren that I would like to congregate with in supporting a team that I love. So we're going to get together tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a preview for the Inter Milan game. That game might just decide how much of this football club you still recognize in 6 months' time, meaning whether it's legends with the team, notable coaches, but all the same, that entire ride, please, my friends, please, my Reds family, I am definitely asking you humbly, be good to yourselves, be good to others. I'm not going to totally take Jerry's lines, but recognize that we are all Reds family. We need to lift each other up and enjoy the moment that we have to breathe life and enjoy this game and enjoy it with each other. So until tomorrow, I appreciate everyone. We are like just a little bit over the 2-hour mark. So Lee, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, thanks everyone. It's tough times, isn't it? But we've just got to keep the faith, haven't we? Which we are doing. And hopefully things will pick up soon. Been saying it for weeks. Hopefully things will pick up soon. And they've not yet, but we've got to keep with it, haven't we? And hope that we see the green shoots of recovery soon. It's going to depend on a few different factors, like, but there's no reason why we can't get a result in Milan. Doesn't necessarily have to be a win then. But what's our next league game after Milan? What's the next home game? Oh, Brighton.
Brighton. Yeah, Brighton. That's why he said.
Brighton can score goals. But
yes, they can, and yes, they can't. I mean, we just saw Brighton struggle against it wasn't Fulham. Because Fulham played Crystal Palace. I'm trying to think who Brighton played. Hold on. I'll tell you who Brighton played in a second. Brighton just, I watched that game. That's how bad it was. It was the early game this morning. Brighton played West Ham. They played West Ham. And West Ham should have won that game, by the way. West Ham should have won that game. Brighton got equalizer late in that game. West Ham should have definitely won the game. Bowen, who I think would be a fantastic. Bowen reminds me of like an English version of Chiesa, to be honest with you. Maybe a poor man's Chiesa. But yeah. Who is my favorite YouTuber? My favorite YouTuber. Can't pick myself, so that would be not humble. My favorite YouTuber is, well, according to YouTube, my favorite YouTuber is Kopish. I watch apparently a lot of Kopish. But I'd say, I think on my list too, my list has Anfield Irishman is high on my list. I watch a lot of Anfield Irishman. I watch a lot of Quasi Bowl TV. I watch a lot of Lawrence McKenna too. And
is he
at least the ones that I like.
McKenna? Oh no, that's Paul McKenna. Sorry,
Paul McKenna.
Got him mixed up there.
Yeah,
got me McKenna's mixed up.
Maybe I think he got him maybe mixed up on purpose. But all right, it's all good.
I did. You know what? I've always buzzed off magicians' names. You know when they have like fake names, like Paul Zenon makes me laugh. The name Zenon, Paul Zenon. The name's bloody hilarious, like, aren't they? You know, David Copperfield, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, these days they all keep their own name, like David Blaine, don't they? And that, but the names were always inherently amusing to me, like.
But yeah. Those are probably like my the ones that I like to watch actually. I think so.
Well, I like them magic shows. Some of them. I don't like the grand ones though, like bloody David Copperfield, like, you know, and all the ones like him. I like the smaller magicians, like, you know, don't do big daft things, like, you know what I mean.
But you got to say retro LLC, by the way, too. Norm is a YouTuber, so I got to give a shout out to Norm too. Certainly to Norm. But yeah. Those are pretty much the ones I like. people, and I'll bring down the Jerry Springer line again, like I said, because we're gonna bounce out of here. Yeah, my favorite YouTuber is probably Dua Lipa, probably.
Well, keeping it with magicians, maybe we could put Arne in one of those chests and put swords through it, like, and see if he's all right.
Oh, how can I forget?
A revolving
Beige and
chest.
Reds, of course. I watched Beige and Reds. Beige and Reds, I don't know. I think he made my top 5. I'd have to double check. I think Beige and Reds made my top 5. They did. They certainly did. Beige and Reds have been day ones, so definitely. Beige and Reds have been day ones. That's always you get put on the spot, and then you try to think of all the because I've made a lot of friends and a lot of compatriots since joining the ranks of making content, and some of the friends don't consider each other as friends anymore. But some of the friends that I've befriended certainly are even stronger of friends. So yeah, it's been a very, very interesting journey, and I do not have a beef with ends. I do not. My name is not Hussam, so. There you go. Apparently, his ends man has a beef with Hussam, apparently, or something like that. But anyways, you have to wait for the next. You have to wait for the next this tape to come out or something. I don't know, Twitter or YouTube beefs. Big up to everyone, though. Big up to everyone. Did I already post that? Hopefully, I did post it already. It's been a while. I'll say this again, people. Until next time. Take care of yourself and each other. As the great Jerry Springer, rest in peace, would have said. I'll say it to you as well. Keep your heads up, my Reds. It is not easy times that we're in, but then again, it wouldn't be the case if it was associated with Liverpool anyway. So, like true Reds, you keep your heads up and you walk forward, and we walk forward together. So until tomorrow, let's get this preview in tomorrow. And again, take care of yourselves out there. All right. Good night.